Okay, so Kanjan, who are you and what do you do for Alchemy?
All right, my name is Khanjan Desai. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Alchemy. We are a thermal signature management platform for defense primes and militaries across the world.
What's wrong with thermal camouflage today?
Thermal camouflage today uses a lot of legacy technologies. So you could always wrap yourself in aluminum foil to hide your thermal signature, but now
As one does.
As one does.
It's very warm in there, I can say.
Yeah, like those space blankets that they use when, in traumatic events to keep body heat in, they will keep your thermal signature from being seen. But what a lot of people are doing right now is that they're laminating those metal foils onto textiles, and that makes the textile unbreathable, and it makes you very shiny. Now you can see
What do you mean
people
shiny?
visually. Like think about aluminum foil around your body, right? It reflects. So there's this
But what
thing.
if I put like a little fabric on it?
Well, no, it has to be on the outside. So everyone generally, the way they're laminating it is that they'll put a metal foil, a textile, and then other stuff below it. And the metal foil has to be on the outside is what everyone else is doing because that's what's called a low emissivity material. So your body has a high emissivity. It produces a lot of heat. It emits a lot of heat in the form of thermal infrared radiation. Metals tend to generally have low emissivity, so that's why they work well
But it
to
has
hide
to be
your
on the
heat signature.
outside.
Exactly.
And also I've seen, it seems to be kind of difficult to use, like how many minutes or hours you can have it on before it actually starts getting warm and like you have to cover your body. Like it seems very difficult to use actually.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the other issue. So first is, yeah, you're making, like legacy technologies make it shiny. The second issue is this, what you're describing is called bleed through. We'll get a little technical here for a second, but there's this thing called Planck's law in physics. Basically states if something gets warmer, it will emit more infrared radiation or more radiation in general. And so the reality is that if your material is designed for the human body when it's not for the human body, as the body starts warming up because we're making something that's not breathable, that textile will warm up, the metal foil warms up, and then it will emit more infrared radiation. Yeah. So it gives you away the longer you use it.
And the non-breathability,
yeah,
that might be rough after some time.
Exactly, yeah. If I'm wrapping myself...
I'd be drenched.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the term we've heard it get used a lot of times by people is that these textiles are not breathable. We are out there and within 30 minutes you feel like you're wearing a raincoat in the jungle.
And the Finnish guys will call that a Swedish sauna.
Oh, yeah.
Raincoat in summer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that sounds, but on the other hand, like I can't be without the thermal protection. Like, because if I'm walking around, I've seen that this, it's called like, I think Falcon Claw or something. It's an Estonian company. They do thermal and they show how to hide in the winter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of tough. I mean, thermals will catch you easily. The best they had was an umbrella. That's the pro solution now. As long as it's directed towards whoever's trying to film you, because otherwise they'll still see you. But so, I mean, I have to have something. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, so Alchemy has sort of taken a look at this problem, and we're a nanotechnology company. This is our bread and butter. We've recognized that there is something interesting about these metallized films. There is something interesting about the different approaches that people are taking, but they're sort of taking it in the wrong way, which is they're trying to just take these legacy materials and put them onto a textile. So what we've done is we've built a thermal signature engineering platform using nanoparticles. Our nanoparticles can be dropped into textiles, they can be dropped into paints, into films, and you can take any of those materials and put them onto soldiers, onto weapons, onto equipment, onto infrastructure vehicles, etc. So we have a core technology that can be used to engineer the thermal signature of a variety of items and variety of assets.
Well, can we go into a little bit of the nanotechnology here? Because to me it sounds like, use aluminum foil example, and as I said, it has to be on the outside, so that means I'm shiny, so if you use maybe in thermal, maybe I'm hidden for a certain time, but if you have any other light spectrum, I'm seeing you glowing like a little ball, like a sun or something, like, maybe not that strongly, but it will be seen in some other spectrum easily. So now it's not like, I can understand the way of putting a sheet on top of something, it distributes heat somehow. Now you're just making it sound like, you take the sheet and you make it really, really small, but you still apply it as a sheet, and now suddenly all these problems disappear. It sounds like magic to me.
Yeah, in a way, and it certainly isn't Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. I think we try to be very clear that you can't just run around rob a bank or something with it. But the reality is that what we're able to do exactly. What we're able to do is like our nanoparticles have the same property a lot of these metals do. They're thermally reflective in the sense that if my shirt were to be coated in it, any body heat, thermal infrared radiation coming off my body is not going to be emitted. It's going to be reflected back in. That's where breathability comes in,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we can go there later.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
But then similarly, the environment around me, all of that light coming from the environment around me is reflected back as well. But because each of our particles are essentially a nanoparticle, you get the ability to sort of diffuse all of those reflections as opposed to be a mirror. And so we've gone through testing with the Canadian D&D.
So it's like a really shitty mirror.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want a really shitty
So
mirror.
it's really dispersed. So
It's frost.
It is emitting out.
Yeah.
But it's getting so dispersed that it doesn't look like anything. I think I saw a picture. The first thing you had like a person and you had like a rock next to it.
Yeah.
And it was like the same time of day. And like it's emitting, but the rock is emitting too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't look different.
Exactly, and that's the thing, right? If you've got the sun in the sky, you'll see a really bright spot on the ground. With the competitors' technologies where, you just see a reflection of the sun. Again, we can be very diffusive, so if you've got a drone in the sky and it's just pointing at the ground, you don't see a reflection of the sun, you just see the ground. Whereas a lot of these competing technologies, you see reflections that look very unnatural. And so we're able to look very similar to the environment.
And breathability.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. The way our technology goes in is we're not laminating metal foils to each other, right? So, or to textiles and whatnot. So we can drop it in as a liquid coating during the manufacturing process of the textile. So we can go into meshes, we can go into regular combat cloth, nylon, polyester, etc. And you can get this very scalable manufacturing approach with it. But you can use things like meshes or scrim fabrics that are already used in ghillie suits and sniper cloaks, etc. So you get the benefit of breathability while being able to actually deliver camouflage, thermal signature management.
So what are can we go into like tactical operation a little bit? What changes? Like if this is deployed as you imagine, what can I do that previously was very hard to do?
Yeah, I think, previously, right now the problem in the battlefield as we're seeing in Ukraine is it's a sensor-saturated battlefield. Anything that is on the battlefield can be seen, and if it can be seen, it means it can be targeted. So it's really important for the various military branches to be able to have the ability to get closer to your target. The closer you can get without being seen, the better it is. So we can allow that. That in turn then allows you to have the first strike capability as well. And all of that ultimately means also we're improving mission survivability, which is really critical and incredibly challenging, as you mentioned with Falcon Claw, showing us that everything is just visible right now on the battlefield.
All right, that's cool. You also mentioned vehicles. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, that's the thing. Everything that's on the battlefield today is seen, right? Where we can see weapons. For example, snipers like to spray paint their weapon systems, their guns especially, so that because nothing in nature looks like a gun. But now this spray paint, when they handle it, their body heat transfers to the weapon and causes the gun to start glowing. So you need to apply on that. You have big tanks, for example. We've seen images where the rear, where the engine is,
it's glowing.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is glowing. Now we're not trying to keep a suppressor from showing up once they've started shooting, because there's a million different ways you give yourself away as soon as you start firing. Same thing with vehicles as well. But our goal is really, can you get these vehicle systems closer to where they need to go, or through the entire mission without being seen.
As long as they don't fire then they should, hypothetically now, they should be at least thermally cloaked.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if they're loud, everyone can hear a loud thing, right? We don't need a fancy sensor for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're all playing this cat and mouse game. Like, right now I don't think there's a lot of audio pickup on the drones, for example, because they're able to use thermal and pick it up from there.
Yep.
So I mean, we have to fight this all the time. Like, we want to have a little signature as we can, and maybe the engine noise will not be that easy to get rid of. But if we can get rid of a signature, I mean, if you have a good bright signature, it could be seen kilometers away.
Absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned a very important thing, which is this cat and mouse game. One of the things we're doing that's somewhat unique, from what I understand, is we don't believe the standard is, can a person looking through a thermal camera see you? That's not the standard. That's maybe the standard today. But the future is hyperspectral imaging with automatic or autonomous targeting on it. Can you survive that? And that's what we're building towards, is really, and testing ourselves internally with, is that we've created a team.
Could you do that? Could you do could you mimic with hyperspectral imagery?
Can you survive
with
that?
the nano, because that one, I mean, what I've been told is like you could have a leaf, like one in plastic and one in with a real leaf, and he will know. Like they could be otherwise identical for the human eye, but it can like pick a dot and be like, oh no, this is plastic. It can know that.
Exactly. And that's where like we go back to how we are even operating as a business. Is our mandate and our goal isn't actually even to sell most of the time to the defense customer or the military itself. We work with the industrial base in every country and every target market to enable them with our capability. But our bread and butter, our core competency, is actually signature engineering. So we're helping people engineer the signature of whatever, whether they're building a water bottle or whether they're creating a cloak for a soldier. How do we engineer the signature of this item the best way possible using our technology?
I like that. I like that's very nice. I like it's a nice mission statement. It's like not just about thermals, but signature management. So I think that's really cool. All right, but so you said when you came into this NATO-DANA thing, you were coming in with one contract, so things were looking all right, and that was 2 months ago, and now you're basically like drowning in contract. Is that? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think the DIANA program is amazing in the sense that you get practically waterboarded with opportunities in the beginning and resources in the beginning.
And you were quite mature. Also, I mean, you were mature enough that they could kind of work with you too.
Exactly, and this is something, especially when you have Instagram accounts that are talking about the problem, everyone knows and everyone has seen the problem to a large extent. So everyone's acutely aware of exactly what you're trying to do. Our first conversation, we were just told, why aren't you in this country? Why aren't you in this country? Why aren't you selling here? It was just, it felt like, okay, how do I process this? And it took us a couple of weeks to actually kind of sort through that. But ultimately where we are now is that we've been able to really prioritize our opportunity in our home country. And this is something I'll sort of share as advice to everyone.
Let's talk about the prioritization in this waterboarding experience.
So firstly, there's the problem that pretty much every NATO-DANA innovator is going to have is you have 30-something countries you could go to, right? So every market is different, and in fact, understanding each market, putting your MBA hat on and going, how do I prioritize all of these? That's a full-time job of its own if you actually try to understand everything and quantitatively prioritize. So you don't really have time to do that when the program itself is 6 months. The second for us, which is somewhat unique to us, is because we can go into so many different applications, we now have not just countries we have to prioritize, but also applications. And so what we did was we really just sat down and created a table and had in columns the opportunities and in rows the countries. And then we ranked from 1 to 3 to 4, 5. And then afterwards we stopped ranking because there's no really point having 27 and 28. And so what we did was we recognized, first of all, we're fortunate to be in Canada, where Canada's done a really good job adopting and embracing the NATO-DANA program.
Yeah, I think they're the number one, I would say.
Yeah.
For now. They're doing they're really happy doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the point where some of the engagements we've had, they actually prefer to go through the DIANA program than through the country's domestic procurement programs, just because DIANA's built such really good procurement and innovation programs. So what we did was we recognized, look, every innovator, you know your country well. Every country wants to spend money in a way that benefits their domestic industry. So for everyone generally, unless there's something acutely, there's an acute mismatch in your home market, it should be your first priority. So that's where we focused. Then the second for us was really a market that we had already developed. And then third was, okay, in our case, how do we start working with the NATO countries that are the closest to the eastern flank? And they are the ones that are very concerned about signature management because they have a neighboring country that many of them are seeing is actually struggling with this problem. So that's how we ended up prioritizing, but we had to really...
And you picked 1, 2, 3. How many? Like, how did you decide when to stop? Like you said, 28 was too many. So
Yeah, well, my first draft we went to 5, and frankly, on the Canadian side alone, we have so many opportunities already starting to grow now that we actually had to cut the list off at 3. So for us, it's 3 countries that we're focusing on to start, and we're going to sequence it. So once we get to a critical point where our solutions engineering team is actually the one leading the charge, for example, on most of the contracts in Canada, then for myself as the business development lead, I will start focusing on the next market in the list. So we will sequence it. Something that left a very impactful sort of message on me from our first cohort was, just because you win in one country doesn't mean you win in all countries. And it's okay, there are 30-something markets here. It's perfectly okay for you to not win in all of the countries. And it's actually a good thing for the Alliance to have different solutions so that there's diversity in there as opposed to just one solution with one set of weaknesses and one set of strengths. So we're trying to start with the largest markets, the most easy to access markets, and then working our way down all of the markets.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like low-hanging fruit is the way to go. And in your case, I guess if I would sit on such a cool technology, I would be like, how do I win all of it? Like, I can see how I would be like that. Like, why not all of it? But maybe that's not possible, and somehow have to find some, calmness in one's heart that I will do 3 now.
Well, I actually I had to go to one of our board advisors, and we brought him in for one day in the office for a brainstorming session because I went to him and I said, I don't know how to prioritize anymore. And one of the key realizations, just like you, I'm wired the same, I had was, I hate to lose more than I like to win.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't want to lose a single market to my competitor, and so I want to go at all of them. But my head of R&D had to pull me aside and say, can you stop selling for a month? Because we're creating a bigger backlog now of things we need to do than we're able to keep up. And if you keep selling, you will keep growing the backlog. So at some point, you have to be mindful that if you disconnect those two, you end up falling flat on your face in the execution phase. And if you actually want to win, you have to execute, right?
But you see, in a way, when we're talking, this sounds kind of so easy that you're dealing with all these positive problems.
Yeah.
It cannot always have been like this.
Oh God, no, absolutely
So
not.
what happened? Could you say when was the turning point you realized like, wait, this is picking up now?
I think the company's been around for 12 years now, right?
Is it yours, by the way?
I'm one of the founders. Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
And it started with the automotive sector where we are making imagine a phone screen protector but built for a car's windshield. The idea being in 40 countries now, it's mandated that every new vehicle has to have what's called an advanced driver assist system in the vehicle.
So you got the 40 markets there, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
And so we were working on this technology, and we've been working on it for a long time. But what ended up happening was in the late 2010s, there was the big autonomous vehicle trend. But we weren't really autonomous vehicle. We were helping with a problem that autonomous vehicles or these self-driving systems were creating. So we couldn't really capture that trend. Then that bubble burst. And so we went through roughly 3 or 4 years of COVID where supply chain was a total nightmare. And while we were working on this technology in Canada itself, starting 2020 actually, the project was moving very, very slowly because the Canadian government at the time had not really focused on domestic innovation and procurement. But it was really in, I would say, sometime around June of 2025 where things really changed for us. Like, things were looking dire actually for us. We were starting to worry about our runway as a company. We were thinking, okay, is this the time to throw in the towel now finally? And we've had multiple close calls as a company where we've thought, okay, we're dead. But that was another one. But it was really when, for us, we had a big change in the federal government, and then the new policy started coming out. It was very focused on sovereign defense capabilities, and the Canadian government, federal government, said we're going to invest heavily. And so all of a sudden, defense became a really hot sector.
But what happened? Did you tell them that you existed, or like? Cause, yeah, the new government comes in. It doesn't mean that anything changes on your side.
It doesn't mean that anything changes on our side, except that we were already in the pipeline, but our contracts were moving very, very slowly. like glacially slowly, and to the point where there was starting to lack of confidence was starting to creep in. And are we just kind of out to lunch here? Are we delusional? Are we the only ones that see this opportunity? When the customer doesn't really get up and actually pay you, and especially when it's your host nation, it becomes a bit of a challenge. But thankfully, then the government really reversed course and said, no, we need to have sovereign capabilities. And so very quickly now, what ended up happening was you saw a lot of companies starting to be dual use companies. But we, in fact, actually had a mature defense-ready application, very clear use case, very clear customer validation from the Department of National Defense. So we were lucky to be in the right place at the right time to some
So
extent.
did the wheels suddenly start turning? Because like it sounds like, I don't know, the bureaucrats might be the wrong word, but the people inside of the organization that was involved in your case, they got like permission, or what do you call it, like, oh, we're supposed to move this faster. All right, I mean, that sounds what happened. Like, okay, let's move it.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being a bit of a chicken and egg thing. In our case specifically, what happened was there was a bit of a change in guard of the specific departments we were working with.
So you can rekindle that, okay? Like
Yeah.
get back, or well, maybe, I don't know if that's the right English word, but now you have new people. That's
Yeah.
what we got here. We got this new directive.
Exactly.
Should we
Yeah.
go?
And then the chicken and egg piece was really, you always need capital to deploy into business development. You have to hire people and you have to access the right networks. So in our case, what we were able to do is immediately, we had a raise that was crawling forward in June of 2025. And within the next 90 days, we closed $6 million in investment, largely powered by the defense BU. And so what ended up happening was then we were able to invest in hiring the right people, accessing the right lobbying groups and business development groups who helped us figure out exactly what is going on. Selling into defense is opaque.
Oh, tell me more. Tell
Yeah.
me more about that. Because you kind of been unbottling this problem here before Diana even.
Yeah, exactly. And so the world of defense is opaque, right? To some extent, rightfully so, because defense organizations don't really want you to know exactly their hierarchy, because if it's available on the internet, the enemy can access it. But it makes it so tricky where you don't even know what all of these million acronyms are. My first few meetings, I felt like I was a puppy at a table with a bunch of adults talking, and I'm like, I don't know any of these words you guys are saying, these acronyms, none of this makes sense to me. And what I very quickly recognized was when you want to start selling into defense, the first thing you need to think about is not hiring people, it's about hiring networks. Because the way it works is that even if you were to hire someone who spent time in the military, their networks are limited to the people they were exposed to. There are a ton of these small business development firms. Most of them are structured the same way, where there are 3 to 4 primes, principals who spend full time working on that business, but they might have 70 domain experts on their website who are all involved in an episodic way. And what I mean is, if you wanted to talk to the Army, they might have an Army person. If you want to talk to the Navy, they might have a Navy person, the Special Forces, so and so. And even within those groups, they might have a procurement person, a soldier systems person, a vehicle systems person, etc. And so what happens is when you hire these firms, you pay the equivalent of one full-timer salary, but you're able to access all of these people for 5 hours a month to get introduced into.
And that's enough. Like you don't need that same individual for full time.
Exactly.
I just need you 5 hours. That's all
Yeah.
I do. And then you spread that out on several individuals.
Exactly. And then what that does is it very quickly allows you to talk to a lot of different people. And all of these people, these episodic people, they will sit down with you and explain to you how the organization is structured.
They don't mind. Yeah, if you're introed, they don't seem to mind.
Exactly.
And it's not really secret. It's just
Yeah.
opaque.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just hard to figure out, but they're more than happy to have these conversations with you. And so before all of my meetings, like as an example, I flew down to Fort Bragg in North Carolina, United States. Before that, one of our colleagues from that firm, him and I went to a Starbucks, and I said, okay, my mind map software is XMind. I opened up XMind and I said, explain how this organization is structured. And we drew out the organization. He pointed out where exactly the meetings were, where you need to create a push, where you need to create a pull, where you need to create influencers, etc. And very quickly, within an hour and a half Starbucks meeting, I had a very quick vision of exactly what needed to get done, context for me to go pitch to each meeting for the rest of the 2 days I was there exactly the right way. And now it's all for the price of one full-time employee. So now we've actually started hiring full-time employees, but that's after we've kind of matured the market, matured the market. So the 3 steps I would describe is, first, you got to go in yourself, which is why I, as the CEO, am here participating in NATO-Dyna. You have to figure out, is this a market you're going to be investing in? You have to learn enough, because if you start hiring people, then you don't know whether they're even learning the right things or not. Then, if possible, you would hire a business development firm to help you expand that engagement. And then you hire people to actually execute on that engagement and mature all of the programs you need to create. In our case, the NATO-Dyna program is amazing because it's actually acting like that firm for us, where we have access to so many mentors and so many experienced people that maybe we skip that step and eventually just end up hiring someone to be our European programs manager.
Well, in this case, I mean, the NATO-Dyna is an amazing program. Like, if anybody can get in, I mean, go. I mean, I don't know if there's any case where one should not do it. It's just, because you were well on your way even before this.
Yep.
And even you say, wow, it's very useful.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think I when I first got into the program, and I was doing, because the cohort starts in January and we do an annual financial cycle, in December my thought process was, maybe I will use this to really focus on the European market. I never imagined it was going to actually help us back in Canada as well. And so that was a incredibly sort of positive and refreshing thing to see. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I think if you are genuinely interested in this sector, I would say go for it. But it is a lot of work. And so, if you don't think you're actually ready for the sector, then maybe it becomes a distraction, and in which case you're wasting Diana's time and your own time as well.
But what about this part? Like, you got investment, and then you basically transferring that money into knowledge that you can access.
Yeah.
What's the step when I don't have like that type of finance? I'm coming in maybe without an investment, or if I have one, is like enough for me to build my prototype. That type of level. How do I get access to the defense from your perspective? I mean, you maybe have to be a Canadian perspective now, but tell me more.
Yeah, I think to some extent it is still, the sequence, the 1, 2, 3 sequence still exists, right? You got to go in yourself, right?
Well, how do you do that? How do I even know where to go?
Within Diana or within your own country?
Like whatever you did in the beginning, where you had almost no money and.
I mean, yeah, in our case, I wish I had more experience to speak to that, because we kind of got lucky in the sense that, and actually I'll go back.
You said you were in already before that transformation of the government. You were in already trying to do something already.
Yes, absolutely. But there were 2 things there. The first was, we recognized this application or technology dating back to 2016. And we were trying to go to all of the innovation. The Royal Canadian Air Force had a innovation office in our own city. We went to them and we briefed to them. But in fact, if you go back to even the whole of last decade, most of NATO is not really concerned about thermal signature management, because who's the adversary? You're concerned about asymmetric warfare. You're concerned about
counterterrorism time.
Exactly. Yeah. IED is the bigger issue at that point, right? So a lot of the innovations going there. Thermal signature management, why do we care? And it was really for us, what happened was in 2020, Canada had launched a few years before an innovation program called IDEAS. And they pushed out an RFI for anyone who thought they could solve thermal signature management.
All right.
And so that's the first thing we got lucky with, was we were monitoring those lists. And every country, even within the Dyna program, I've seen every country show up and brief how they're managing innovation.
Well, you were monitoring the list, though. So you were trying to see, is anybody ever going to care about thermal signatures?
Exactly. Right. And that's the annoying part of the opacity, is like you're just throwing stuff at the wall and you're hoping something sticks. But sometimes it can take a while. Now, these were days where innovation and some of the domestic innovation in Canada wasn't really a priority, so that's why it took that long. Nowadays, you can actually contact these departments, and governments are restructuring themselves to allow people who have innovative ideas to come to them. So it's about identifying that department in your country and monitoring what they're asking for. Even now, there's just so many different grant opportunities and funding opportunities coming online in Canada that we are monitoring all of them. and trying to make a call on, should we apply here, should we not apply here? And eventually that gets you enough funding to get the ball going.
And at least then you get the contacts and feedback. There's some, I mean, it's at least what they call a contact surface.
Yeah.
So there, if my company's in Canada, there's no, I mean, there will be a way, probably, if your tech is good enough or it solves a problem,
Yeah.
give it a little time. If you just keep looking for it and asking around, you should probably find something, some path forward.
Yeah, exactly. And it's understanding how different, doing a bit of research on understanding how do different departments work. Who sets the requirements? Who is the technical authority? Who is the procurement authority? So on the Canadian side, we have 3 different departments we need to engage with to make sure everyone is aligned. But then the 4th one that people often forget about is who's the influencer? So in our case, for example, if you're going to, there's a facility called Gagetown, which does sniper training, all right? So, could we actually get our systems integrated into the training program there so that anyone who's going through that course gets influenced on your product as well? So you have to, it's still complex sales, but it is just with understanding how does this organization make decisions and understanding where do you need to go.
Did you get into the sniper school already?
Not yet. I mean, we're going to be there through a separate program we're working on.
Yeah, well, why I wanted to bring that up is that, sorry, I just going to check the time as well. Yeah. That what I want everybody to do with defense tech is to make sure your end users, I mean, you can't do every soldier, but like people you can influence who if they can use your thing, let's say it's this new thermal cloak that doesn't make me feel like we're wearing this what's called waterproof clothing in the middle of the summer, and they get to wear your stuff. I'm like, oh, this is the best thermal I ever had. And then they get to use it in training, and then they come into normal life and they can't have it anymore. They'd be like, what? No, I need this. I can't have this. Like they're convinced they can't live with the current solution. They will kick and scream until they get the stuff. And if you do that with the right, like enough right people, they will create like an uprising and that will. Like, I feel these things are slow, but they're not, I would say they're not malicious. Like, they're not trying to have poor material. It's just not easy to get things sorted quickly. So if enough people are saying, like, please fix this, they will be pushed. Well, you said there's 4. There's the user, there's all kinds of things people have to invent. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking should be done. You want people to suffer not having your equipment. They have to understand how much they're suffering not having it.
Yeah, you got to be careful though. I think the influencer is not as influential as depending on the quality of the influencer, sometimes you don't get what you do. But it's kind of like marketing. You know this, right? Like you're putting content out there and you might get 5,000 views, 50 comments, but only one of those comments is actually useful, right? So with influencers, with schools, sometimes they're only running 2 to 4 courses a year where your stuff is going to get exposed. So perhaps one of those is a higher ranking enough of an official that is going to make a difference, because when you have the special forces, it's a different thing where each soldier is given a lot of buying power to make sure they have the exact kit that is going to allow them to be the most effective. But in the regular forces, it's very top down, right? So you got to be careful, is that understanding where exactly are you selling and how exactly do you want to set up your influencers, and where do your influencers need to be targeted. But it comes down with starting to map out this organization and understanding where are the different pieces. And sometimes, if you can't hire someone, maybe bring them on as an advisor in exchange for equity, right? Our earliest advisors were brought, we brought them on board, not paying cash, just gave them a piece of the business.
And was it worth it?
Absolutely, yeah.
They're listening. But I wonder, would you have made it without their contribution?
Absolutely not. And in fact, some of our earliest ones, we just have, they advised us on the technological pieces in the early days. And I'm talking about going back 10 years, and we've just reactivated them and actually now are hiring them by paying them because we need them to actually support us even more. And another thing we've done recently is we're in the process of bringing on board someone who retired as a major general within the Canadian Army as well. So having people who are influential on your board also helps as well. And we're going to be building out a board of senior advisors as well for the defense specific sector alone, so that we have the right group of people advising us from within the company as well.
Awesome. So what do you think we're not talking enough about? What do you want to bring here that we haven't spoken today?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of ground at this point. Yeah, I would just say I think the big thing for us is if anyone listening is interested in our technology, what I would just say is that we're
Get
really
in line because you're already working with these three ones. Sorry for
no, yeah. The only plug I'll put out there is really that our goal is really to be the capability enabling technology. So if someone's making any widget, so to speak, and that needs thermal signature management, we can be the company that comes in as the subject matter expert, help engineer it, help test it, not just into the textile but into the garment, and do the full scale testing to make sure that what they're going to then put forward in front of their own government is going to be effective.
Yeah, let's see if I can get this in the editing, but I'd love to have the images that you have where you show like the person standing next to a rock. You might have newer stuff too.
Yeah.
But like to me, what you have created, I almost don't want to call the other thermal, they're not really that. Like you seems to be you actually look like the environment.
Yeah.
While the other ones, it's you're getting there, but you're not there. You can pick up somebody.
Yeah.
If they're it is better than nothing to have a thermal cloak that exists, but you have an actually working version of it. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is where I always find it really difficult in this world to really tell what your competitors are doing, which is like another opaque thing about the defense world, actually, we didn't talk about is I can't buy any of my competitors' product and evaluate them. So I don't know.
No,
because all of these are regulated technologies, right? And I can't go 1-800 whatever competitor and order a piece from them. It's not like going to your local store.
That's right.
So what we have to do is, and then on top of that, now you get the fuzzy marketing, which is everyone will, if you believe all of the websites out there, this problem has been solved.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's what Ken and I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's,
And so at our first cohort 2 months ago, there were a couple of people there who actually spent almost 3.5 years fighting in Ukraine, right? And I asked them point blank, look, there's companies in Ukraine, there's companies everywhere that are claiming this is solved. Am I wasting my time, right? Like, should I just, pack up and go home and say, this is not really for us? And the response was no, actually. A lot of people are not using this. And there are significant trade-offs these systems come with that we're hoping to actually improve. So to some extent, you have to read between the lines. You sometimes have to trust your gut and just kind of go, I think I'm right. But all of our imagery that you'll see is either supplied to us by the D&D from their own testing, or we took with actually some other customers we can't speak about. But they were the ones taking these images, not us. Yeah. So we try to be careful.
But you're doing a great job.
Yeah,
Khanjan from Alchemy, thank you very much for coming to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rasmus.
Thank you.
Thanks,